today, Senator John McCain, the experienced Washington wise man of this race, decided that no one in the country was more qualified to serve as president in the event of his demise than Sarah Palin, governor of Alaska for 21 months, 16 hours and 35 minutes Eastern Time. Our number 3 story tonight, what we've learned in the last week about who John McCain would put a heartbeat from the presidency. Mother, moose hunter, bridge to nowhere supporter before she was an opposer, Abramoff associated earmark lobbyist hirer, more earmark pork barrel money than any other state getter, ethics committee dodger, media dodger, Alaska secession booster, would-be hypothetical book banner, loyalty test wholesale staff firer, 527 of indicted Senator Ted Stevens director, seeker of $15 million from Washington to build a train from her town to Ted Stevens ski resort, Alaska National Guard not a single order issuer, sermon about Israel having terrorism because Jews won't accept Christ attender, vendetta with official powers pursuer, and poor eBay seller. Governor Palin did list the state jet on eBay 3 times, but despite her claim that she sold it at a profit, it turns out that the state paid $2.7 million for it, and Palin sold it at a loss for $2.1 million through a broker. She did list it on eBay unsuccessfully 3 times first, which I think means she probably cost the taxpayers $12 in listing fees. And that's just some of what we know as of, 16, never mind. We're joined now by Huffington Post contributor James Moore, who has covered presidential campaigns since 1976 and who co-wrote Bush's Brain. Hi, Mr. Moore.
Hi, Rachel.
Palin's stated view that God preferred her particular Alaska pipeline plan, her encouragement of an openly anti-American political party, the statements about God directing the Iraq War. I feel like Sarah Palin has some views that are very outside the American mainstream. Do you think that was an accident of the short vetting process, or do you think that was on purpose by the McCain campaign?
I actually think that they didn't care. I think that their calculus in all of this was, guess what, folks? We have found somebody who will be attractive to disaffected Hillary voters. That's what they think. And it will also rally the Christian fundamentalists, the pro-life people. And on top of that, their goal is to offset the candle power of Barack Obama. And they feel like they've done that. The politics, her time in office, all of those things that she has done that are so obviously hypocritical and controversial, they feel like they can deal with that. And they obviously are saying, we're not going to talk to reporters. They will find reporters to offer friendly fire, but they're not going to march her out and let her explain herself because, frankly, she can't.
Well, and they're being very overt about that. McCain's campaign today said they will decide whether Palin is made available to the press based on, quote, what we think is in our best interest. Is there a national interest more important than the campaign's interest in having someone up for such an important job subjected to independent, aggressive questioning?
Well, there obviously is a national interest, but it's not what the McCain campaign sees. Their primary interest is in winning, and they will only let her talk to people who help them to win, not to understand Sarah Palin. So all of these sort of hypocrisies, you know, I'm from the South, and in the South, teenage unmarried pregnancy is still a scandalous thing down here. And to say that that is a private, personal family matter and then to march your child out in front of a national audience seems hugely contradictory. And it goes to the whole question of if you're a family values person and you pay attention to raising your child, how do these things happen? Those are the kinds of difficult questions she would have to answer from people with a little bit of gray hair and some miles on them in the press corps.
In terms of how she was chosen by John McCain, it seems to me that there's 2 possibilities. If they really did only meet once before the choice was made, then either somebody else made the decision, and John McCain did what he was told in that regard, or he made a relatively impulsive pick after meeting her just once. If it's the latter, if it was an impulsive pick, does that mean that maybe John McCain's age isn't the issue, but his maturity is, his decision-making capacity is?
I think actually, Rachel, in my estimation, this highlights both of those issues. It shows a lack of maturity in terms of judgment. He obviously wanted Joe Lieberman, and Karl Rove said, no, you can't do that to the campaign, you can't do that to the party. But when it comes time to choose Sarah Palin and say, I'm going to have this youngish, sort of inexperienced person who's run a small municipality and has run a state of less than 1 million people, to be my vice president, it accentuates the issue of his age. This man will be the oldest president to ever raise his right hand and take the oath of office. And if we think that his health is questionable, we have to believe that Sarah Palin is very healthy and capable and experienced to do this job, and she clearly does not have the experience, and that's why this highlights his age and scares a lot of people.
James Moore, author of Bush's Brain and The Architect, thanks for joining us. Have a good weekend.
My pleasure, Rachel. You too.